We'll be looking for Jerry Glanville, the new defensive coordinator for the Hamilton TigerCats, here on Raw Mike Richards. Looking forward to this. The legend.
Hello.
I'm looking for the legendary Jerry Glanville. It's Mike Richards calling from rawmikeRichards.com.
Let me see if I can find him. I don't know if he's in the building.
Yeah, he left like Elvis, did he?
He left the building.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jerry, if there is one place that's been overlooked where Elvis just might be to pick up those tickets, it just might be Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, I hope so, because you know what I love about the stadium is named after Horton, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Well, I was in Canada. I pulled into Horton's, and I got me a Canadian croissant. It was the best croissant. It beats anything I ever had in France.
What about biscuits? I don't know if there's a whole bunch of biscuits and gravy, though. Gonna miss that on the diet?
Yeah, unfortunately, where I live, biscuits and gravy is recommended by every doctor 3 times a day.
Jerry, it's great to have you on the show. I know for a lot of fans, we're really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen up here in the CFL, particular, obviously, for the Hamilton TigerCats. And, I take a look at, some of the challenges that maybe people have. But I guess in reality, Jerry, when I look at your career, you're not much of a coach who brings a blueprint or a template that you use over and over again. I think you're more of a coach that probably takes a look at his athletes, what he's got at hand, and you sort of develop a defense around that.
It's funny you say that, because we had the #1 defense, as you probably know, in National Football League at 5 different clubs, and we never ran the same defense at either one of them. Because your players, I'm a guy, I will not put my players in positions that they cannot win at. And people think, geez, Jerry Glanville has full press, bump and run all over the field. Well, I did when I had Deion Sanders and McKyer, because those 2 corners at full press, bump and run had 26 picks in 1 year. But in the 77, which we hold every record in the league, my corners were 9 yards off. They couldn't play dead. So, you want to catch 11 outs in front of them, go ahead and throw it. You weren't getting over the top of it. So we'll adjust. My good assistant coaches up there that I've talked to on the phone, I'm going to meet with them next week. We're going up to Hamilton next week and put the whole scheme in and talk to. But my question, which each coach, I say, what is the strength of this defensive guy? Mm-hmm. Can he do this? No. Can he do this? No. Can he do this? Very well. That's where this scheme will end up, with what the guy can do. If you're a hard ball, this is my scheme, this is what you got to do, you're always chasing players that fit into your scheme. I'm not in the personnel department, so I'm going to look at our players, and whatever our players do, we're going to get them to excel at what they do best and not ask them to do something they can't do. I went to Buffalo one time. A guy said, we want to be full press, bump and run corner. My corners couldn't run out of a girdle, let alone run on a football field. So you get your butt beat. We won't allow that.
That's interesting. Jerry, I have to ask you, you were a guest coach with the TigerCats last season, and you brought it up in a couple different interviews that I saw. How much of a factor does that, coaching-wise, that 1 yard between the offense and defense, how much of a factor does that allow you as a defender to kind of figure out this offense? It's a big difference, isn't it?
Well, it's hard on the offense, too. I think they did it to help the offensive line, but I'm not sure that it didn't backfire. Because if I'm off a yard, it's called a stick. I can start up over the tackle, and with that yard off, I may slam all the way down and pick the center to bring somebody else around. I think they tried to help the offensive line, but I think they may have made it tougher on the offensive line. But what I call long stick blitzes that come from a distance, that can be sorted out too. So I don't think that works. At Atlanta Falcons 1 year, I brought the free safety a bunch, but I brought them from depth. Well, I think if you bring your secondary people, your deep people, the line can sort that out and see that coming. I think that's a disadvantage. So I think any pressure that we come on in will be what I call instamatic. The pressure has to be right now. We can't be talking about it. We can't be bringing it about bring it out of left field. We got to bring it now because one thing I studied the quarterbacks in Canada, they bring the ball out. None of the quarterbacks hold the football. So you have to build that in your defensive scheme. If I can get a quarterback to hold the football, I can do all kinds of things. I can draw plays with a bar of soap on a mirror. But when the ball comes out, then you have to we were the only guys that beat Bill Walsh twice a year when Bill Walsh was with the 49ers. And the reason I figured that out, I could blitz a guy free and nobody ever touch him, and the ball was still out. You didn't get to the quarterback. So you have to adjust, how that quarterback brings the ball out. My whole life on my tombstone, I tried to make quarterbacks' life, punters' lives, and field goal kickers' lives miserable. I don't want them to have one play where they said, well, that was nice, that was easy. Every single snap, we try to make the quarterback, the punter, and the field goal kicker earn his pay.
Interesting. And then TigerCat fans look forward to that. Can you tell us about your relationship with June Jones? You guys have coached at the NCAA, NFL. He was a quarterback for you. You guys just seem to work out really well, and you're about to start a new campaign with the TigerCats. Why have you guys collected? What's the secret to your success so far?
It's kind of funny. He was my assistant a couple of places, did not want to come, and you'll die laughing. I called him up. I said, I need you here tomorrow. He goes, well, I'm fine where I am. I goes, your ticket's at the counter. I'll see you tomorrow. And by the way, he showed up twice. We beat everybody. Now I'm going to North Dakota. I'm going to schools trying to hire me, and I get a call. I need you over here in Hawaii. I goes, well, they offered me the head job over here in this North Dakota. He goes, the ticket's at the counter. I'll see you tomorrow. He put it right back on me. By the way, in Hawaii, what a run! Only June Jones could do what we did in Hawaii. Only June Jones can do what he does. In Hawaii, you die laughing. We played Pete Carroll at Southern Cal. He had 29 guys who are going to be drafted, and I told June, I says we're going to shut these guys out. He goes, well, what are you smoking? I goes, no, we're going to shut them out. Well, June gets the football and keeps it for the whole first quarter and then throws a pick that's run back for a touchdown. And so I walked by June on the sideline. I goes, well, there goes my shutout. We're not even in the game yet. Well, about the third quarter, they got us by about 50. And he walked by and he said, I guess that pick wasn't a big deal, was it? So people would be shocked if they knew what we said, what we do on the sideline in a game to each other.
We're in conversation.
One time we were coaching in Cleveland in the playoffs, and we had a death threat. And everybody, of course, knows when you got a death. Whenever I wore that High Plains Drifter jacket, we had a death threat, and I had body armor on and all that. Well, no player or no coach comes near you for the whole game. And finally, we're going to win the game, and it's right at the end. And June now says, he comes up, he goes, this is the greatest win ever. Beat Cleveland and Cleveland in the playoffs. And somebody from the upper deck throws an apple and hits him right in the back. And he drops on the ground. He goes, they got me. I goes, no, it's just an apple. Get back up.
We're talking to Jerry Glanville here on rawmike.richards.com, picking up on, look, and funny, Jerry, you say people couldn't imagine what gets talked about on the sidelines. I think some people can imagine maybe what happens and talks on the sidelines when it comes to Jerry Glanville. What about your good friend Mouse Davis? It's funny you talk about Hawaii and the way that team was, that 05-06 team that you had. Colt Brennan had just a spectacular career out there in Hawaii. Mouse Davis is another longtime coach and friend of yours.
Just about everything you see. For instance, you've probably seen Alabama win the game at the end. With what's called the pass run divide. Well, there's a kid in Alabama that played in Hawaii, and he threw that pass. Mouse Davis invented that pass. Mouse Davis invented a lot of things that everybody does. I was the first people to run the shotgun 4 wides and run shotgun, not on 3rd and long, and they thought they were going to have to kick me out of the league. They didn't know if it was legal. So Mouse, very innovative, very smart, very intelligent. June learned a lot from him. I sort of added the running game to June I didn't want to play frisbee ball. I wanted to, you know, you probably forget Smash Mouth football. That name came from our Houston Oilers team. Yet we were four wides in a shotgun in the term Smash Mouth football. Because, you know, when we run the football, I tell everybody, don't solve every problem with a new pass pattern. Solve some problems by breaking some freaking noses. And that's what we added really to Mouse Davis's package.
Jerry, I'm a huge fan of NFL films. And to this day, even here in 2018 and while we speak, I could probably find the legendary clip that you have chewing out an NFL official saying NFL stands for not for long if you keep on making those bleep calls like that. What do you remember about that game? And did you ever think that once you said that you and I or you and a media member could be talking about it decades later?
Well, it's unbelievable. It's sort of got a life of its own, and it made the official so famous. We traveled all around the country giving speeches about it. Here he couldn't even officiate. Now I made him a millionaire. But the week before, we played the Broncos in Denver. And Elway went off on a scramble, and I had a great linebacker named Johnny Meads. And we went over there, and he pulled off of Elway, and Elway went straight forward, went knee-high, and blew Johnny Meads' knee. So we're trying to protect Elway, and Johnny Meads goes to surgery. Well, the next week we're in Tampa, and I said, if that quarterback scrambles, protect yourself. Send him to surgery, not yourself. Well, lo and behold, the quarterback took off running, and a guy named Robert Lyles, another outside lineman, went after him, and here come the flag. And I said, who is that official? I never saw him. He was the college official's first year. The Vanderbilt Wake Forest game where they're not allowed to hit. And I got upset at him.
Well, Jerry, the one thing I do know that upon coming to the TigerCats, you've got Orlando Steinauer, you know, Coach O, as they call him, is there. And I think, you know, at least from what I see and how you've coached over the years, that you do rely on conversations with the guys that are surrounding you. Because the fear always in Canada is when someone doesn't have CFL experience, regardless of the resume coming from the States, they're always afraid that they don't understand the nuances of the game. But the fact is, when you have someone like Steinauer behind you, I know you're going to use him. In fact, you know, as you said, you've been up to camp in 2017. It's not like you haven't been watching the games. It's not like you haven't been doing your own sort of...
You should have been with me. My first 3 days in camp, and I thought I couldn't coach anymore. My first 3 days, where I was visually trying to stop the offense that they were running, I never figured it out for 3 days, and I never stopped the play. Just exactly what your fans say. And I thought, my God, people think I'm an innovator and invented football. I can't stop anything. And the fourth day, it clicked on how I could change what we did in the United States to make that package work in Canada. I had to make some corrections and some changes. And the fourth day, I finally went up to the head coach and I said, I finally stopped in some plays. I finally figured. But for 3 days, I was the worst coach in Hamilton that they've ever had until I figured out what I had to do. These receivers that are back there and running at the line and switch routes, it's called a switch. They're switching positions before they ever get to the line of scrimmage. Well, what I learned, you and me are DBs, we have to be on different levels to combo this. You and I both can't be at 7 yards. We're going to knock each other off. It's all about different levels in Canada, whether you're on the wide receiver, the second wide receiver, the third wide receiver. And that took me 3 days. It took me 3 days. And my first 3 days, I told the coaches, I don't think I can coach anymore. This thing's wide open. I do believe this. I believe if you can stop Canadian offenses, you can come back to the U.S. and kick their butt.
Interesting.
Well, you know, and I don't disagree. I mean, I think some of the, you know, when you look at the sort of read options and what you see a lot in you know, I guess Chip Kelly to a degree, you know, made his name in Oregon and so on. But I think a lot of those quarterback option plays, I mean, they've been running up here for a very long time, which I think has been implemented south of the border. But it goes back to my original thought, which is football may sort of change from year to year, but really it's an old game and variations of of stuff that's been done before. I think it's just a matter of being imaginative when you're a coach.
And when you say this is what I do, this is our offense, goodbye, that's the end of it. You have to have nuances that change, that make the defensive people, if you're coaching offense. On defense, if they know you bring the will every time there's an ace week, they're smart enough that pretty soon they're going to be running something over there. I'm a guy that knows the RPO. I know RPO football. I know if I walk the linebacker out on 2, and you're a bubble screen team, I know I'll make you check out of the bubble screen. So I'm a guy that will control the offensive play because I'll show you something you can't do. You're going to run weak, and I know you're a weak running team out of the set. I'll build a 4-man side over there, and guess what? They'll audible and run the other way. So that's the fun for me. It doesn't matter. This is what I tell everybody. I tell every college professor I ever worked for. It doesn't matter what I know. It doesn't matter my intelligence. That will not win us a game. What matters is what I can teach. And I told every college that ever hired me, he goes, the president said, how should I introduce you? I said, introduce me as the best professor on campus, the best teacher you ever see. Because that's who I am. We'll teach and we'll get our players going. I love the assistant coaches that I talk to. I think they'll be a big plus for us. They've got experience in the league, so I'm going to say, this is what I want to do. And it's up to them to say, that won't work here, coach. You got to modify that, and you got to modify that. Well, show me why it won't work. Well, if they show me, we'll modify it. We'll do something else.
Interesting. Jerry, I've always liked your wardrobe. Hell, I'm wearing a black shirt in honor of this interview.
Tribute.
Are you gonna be
great?
Are you gonna be wearing full black on the sidelines? Are you gonna be easy to spot as you were in the NFL as well?
Well, the beauty of it is at least the team's colors are black.
Yes,
so I'm backing our team
exactly.
with the same. Now, when I wore black at Houston, which we were powder blue, I once said to the owner, Bud Adams, I said, our powder blue uniforms are the ugliest thing I ever seen. We got to change those. I said, where'd you get that color? And Bud Adams looked at me and says, my wife picked that color because it was the same color as my eyes. I said, well, it ain't that bad of blue, you know.
Hey, also, too, Coach, am I going to find you, like, just down the road from Hamilton is a place called Cayuga. They got a speedway. Am I going to be catching you the odd time in a weekend in a car? What's going on with that?
You're kidding. They have a speedway?
Yes, they do.
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess what I'm driving right now. I wish you two were with me. Guess what I'm driving?
Mustang.
I'm in my Shelby Cobra.
Yeah,
My Shelby
there you go.
Cobra.
There you go.
Absolutely.
6-speed, 603 horsepower, and let the big dog eat, man. How about this? Way back, June Jones and I, we'd work till 2, 3 in the morning, and we'd race home.
Oh,
And June drives like I do. People don't know that. And we would race home, and we're going in Houston, going over railroad tracks at a very excessive speed. And then right when it came to where he turned off and I turned off, then we were run by ourselves. So I'm running home about 2 or 3 in the morning, and bam, all the lights come on, and they got radar out there at 3 in the morning waiting for me to cross the bridge. And the poor cop comes up, he goes, we heard about you running out there like that. That's why we set the radar up. I goes, at 3 in the morning? He goes, yes. I goes, why would you do that? And he says, well, what would you do if a little kid ran out in the road and you ran over and killed him? I said, at 3 o'clock, he ought to be run over. He should be in damn bed.
Hey, Jerry, thanks so much for taking the time joining us. I'm really looking forward to what we can expect to see with the TigerCats. I know players like Simone Lawrence, who I know is just can't wait to get on the field. I know he puts out on Twitter, and the guy's working out like mad because you do have one motivated team. And there's no question in the second half of last year, that Hamilton TigerCat team played some. Well, the way I'd put it, Jerry, is they were very professional in the second half of that year. They didn't let it get away from them. They came out like pros. And I think if they made it to the playoffs, I think people would not have wanted to play this team. So the fact that you've got that kind of motivation from the players, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, Jerry.
Well, I love the players when I was up there. I've talked to some of them because they were in a contract dispute. I talked to the linebacker, and I talked to some players, and they're all excited because I told the linebacker, this is your new assignment. This is what you do. This is what you do. And the linebacker, who I guess was with the Vikings, I don't know how long, he goes, stop, coach, stop. I goes, why? He goes, I've just learned more football in an hour-and-a-half phone conversation than I've ever learned in my life. And I goes, well, this is what you're going to do. And I said, I will not ask you to do the shift up when we shift from a 4-1, from a 4-2 to a 5-1. I am not letting you shift up because the coaches that are there told me you're the guy that should stay back. Now, if I don't have good coaches with me, I may be shifting the wrong guy.
Right.
So it's all going to work out. The biggest thing is we will have fun, and you only have fun in football when you win.
Well, that's
it's all about winning.
That's exactly it. Jerry, thanks so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again sometime during the year. Maybe we'll find some barbecue in Hamilton because I know they got some barbecue there.
Yep.
They got some places in Hamilton. They got some good barbecue.
I tell you what, once you live in Texas, you don't eat much Mexican food unless you're in Texas. But you can find good barbecue in Canada and the States. But we are fussy with our Mexican food. Everybody's lived in Texas is pretty dang fussy when they bring out the Mexican food. It better be real good, brother.
Jerry, you take care. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Coach.
Best of luck this season, too.
All right, adios.
Jerry Glanville, the legend.
What? We just become best friends?
Yep.